Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Power BI DAX video. So, this video series is essentially sharing what I am learning and picking up while working with Power BI. And I'm hoping that it might be helpful to people who are new to Power BI, specifically DAX. So, in last week's video, I spoke about the calculate function, but then I realized that if someone is absolutely new to Power BI, the calculate function is kind of like an abrupt introduction. So, in this week's video, I am just walking through Power BI interface. So, what Power BI is, what Power BI desktop is, what we use it for, how we use it. And so that's the content for this week. And I hope it's helpful. Microsoft Power BI is a business intelligence tool that allows you to connect to your data, transform it, and build visual reports. This tool is a tool that we're going to be using in studying DAX. So there's two versions of this tool. There's the service version, which is based on the web, and then there's a desktop version. We'll be using the desktop version in development. So let's quickly see how we can get the desktop version. So pull up my browser and go to this URL. I would add this URL in the info box down below where you can just quickly grab it. But then it brings you to this page where you can download Microsoft Power BI. Now, I already have it, so I'm not going to download it again, but then you can just download it and get access to the desktop version. Now, what does the desktop version look like after you've downloaded it? What are you supposed to expect? So let's pull one up. I've been doing a bit of work here, so let's just go to a new page. So this is the desktop version of Microsoft Power BI. And in the desktop version, we have a few interesting features that we'll explore. So this view is called the reports view. This is where you build all your visualizations, your charts, your bar charts, your pie charts. All visualizations come here. And then we have the table view. And in the table view, you're able to see your data points. I already have some data loaded in here. So you're able to see your data points. Now, when you come to this sidebar, you're also able to see all the data points that you have. Let me just close this up to make this cleaner. I'm able to see all the tables that I have and the various columns within those tables. Now we go to the model view. The model view has, again, your tables, but then it also shows you the relationships between your tables. Let me resize this. So we have a sales table that connects to a district store item. We're going to go through this because this would be the data set that we'll use in exploring DAX. But the model view just gives you an overview of your various tables and how they link to each other within your data model. So there are other views, but these are the three essential views that you need to know. So in the model view, you also have these additional settings like your properties settings. You can also see your data settings here and your model settings. Now, for our purposes, we wouldn't need to go in depth into these. So I'm going to leave this for now. But then as we write more measures or as we explore DAX further, we would definitely be coming into these. So I'm just going to pop these shots for now. And let's go back into our reports view. So we have a ribbon at the top for each of our views, and for each view you'd notice that the ribbon at the top changes a little bit. So in our reports view, this is the ribbon at the top, and the most important things here for me would be creating a new measure that allows me to create or add in a new calculation. I'm also able to select my visuals or add in a text box or gain access to more visuals. Then if we go into our table view, we see this has changed a little bit. So we have table tools and column tools. So let's go to table tools, and they help us to take actions to further extend our table. So we can also create a new measure from here. We can add in a new column, or we can even create a new table. And we can also manage the connections or relationships between our tables. Now, when we come to column tools, it goes through the actions that we are able to take on our table itself. So we can sort, we can group, we can add additional columns, we can set the data types of our columns, the data type, its formats, and even the name of our column. We can change it. I have a column here called switch condition, so we see that up here. Let's go back into the reports view and let's explore it further. So in the reports view, we have a filters page or a filters tab. On this tab, you can add in various filters that would affect the visuals on your page. So, for example, if you have specific items and you only want to show specific items in your visualization, you pop your item field here and it becomes a filter where you're able to select the specific items that you want to show. So just to show, let's go through this. I have my item ID and I pop it in here and I'm able to show only the items that I want to be able to show in my visual. So let's say only item 1 or only item 2. Every visual that I build on the page is going to only be filtered down to item 1 or item 2. Now we have our build pane. Here you also select the visuals that you want to use in your report. So let's say I want to have a table. If I click on table, see a table pops up and then I'm able to add in various bits of information here. So my table is selected and in columns, I'm going to add in bits of information. So I have a column called family name. I just realized this was spelled wrongly, but family name, I'm going to pop that in here. I'm going to close this. That doesn't matter for now. So I'm able to see the family name. Then I'm going to put maybe the count of items in the family. It's also another field that I've made. So essentially, you select your visuals and then you're able to put in the various columns that you want to show in your visual in this section. This section also changes according to the visual that you select. So for table visual, it says columns. But let's say I pick like a bar chart or a column chart or something else. You see it changes. So what do I want my y-axis, x-axis value to be? What do I want my y-axis value to be? What do I want my legend to be? I can put that information in here. And we go again to the data tab. So I'm able to see all my tables and all the columns within the tables in here. And I'm also able to create new measures and new columns right here. So for example, if I want to add a new measure to this table, I click on the 3 dots. I'm going to do that again. So 3 dots come up and say more options. I click on it and I'm able to either create a new measure, new column, quick measure, and do additional options or have access to additional options here. So that's a brief overview of the Power BI desktop UI. This is where we are going to be doing most of our development. And so I just wanted to walk us through so we know a bit about the tool that we're going to be using. So now that we know about the tool, the next thing is, how did I get data in here? Or how can I get my data in here? And I'm going to show you how you can get your data in here. So I'm going to open a new copy or a blank report. So in order to get data into Power BI for us to transform and visualize, we need to connect to the data somewhat. We're going to go to get data, and get data gives us a list of common data sources where we can pick our data from. So it can be an Excel workbook, it can be a Power BI semantic model. Not to go too deeply into this, but a Power BI semantic model is the calculations and various transformations and the relationships between our table that we have created. And so we can do that for a different data sets and leverage that data sets in our new reports. So let's say you already built one report, you've done your transformation, you've done your additional calculations, all of those things with the data, the underlying data form your semantic model. And in a new report, you can connect to a semantic model from a previous report. But then we're going to walk through this as we walk through learning more about DAX. We have our data flows, Dataverse. So there's many sources where we can get data from. For purposes of what we're learning, our data source sits in Power Pivot. So we're not going to be using the get data option. Instead, we're going to go into File, and then we're going to come here into Imports. Now, this also allows you to import data from other sources. And since our data source sits in Power Pivot, we're going to come into Power Pivot, the last option then that we're going to pick. I'm going to start this. Now, this data source is a Microsoft data set. So I'm going to also add that URL into the information box below so you can also access the same data. So we've imported the data that sits in Microsoft Excel Power Pivots into our table, and we're able into our reports, and we're able to see the data and everything, or every calculation that has been done around it. And when we look in our data section, we see our tables now: sales, district, item, store, and time. We see the information that we imported. I'm going to create a new copy, and this time around, we're going to import data from an Excel. So we can also walk through that process of importing data from an Excel or from a CSV. We can connect to an Excel workbook, text or CSV, XML, JSON, PDF, folder, a whole lot. Data warehouses like Amazon Redshift, Snowflake, a lot of data sources that we are allowed to connect to through Power BI. So these are native connectors within the Power BI ecosystem. But let's try connecting to an Excel workbook. So I just click on it. So this is an Excel worksheet. We're just going to open this. Click on open. So in our worksheet, we have multiple sheets. And here, the navigator allows you to select the sheet that you want to see. So let's say I want to see data on population. I have population data here. I can just click on it and load it. What if I want to load about like 2 or 3 tables, not just one? I can make that selection. If I want to load everything, I can also load everything. So let's stick with the population table, and then let's load it. So now we can see our population table here. And it's also showed up here. It's a similar process for loading in a CSV file. Go to get data, or click on it to get access to the wider list of sources. Select text CSV and basically go through a similar process. You can also connect to a folder. Now, what happens when you connect to a folder is you add in your folder path, and it gives you access to all the data within your folder. Now, if you are doing work where you need to keep all your data within a folder, you can essentially put all your data sets or data sources in that folder. So let's say you're working with Excels or CSVs, you can put all your CSVs in one folder, connect that folder into your report here, and then you just refresh. So when you refresh, any new data that you've added will be automatically pulled into your reports. So this is also one of the common ways that we can get data into Power BI. So that's a general high-level overview of Power BI and Power BI Desktop specifically, because that's where all the development is done. Building of reports, of data models, of semantic models, that's where all the building is actually done. In upcoming videos, we'll go into more DAX specific content. So looking at things like row context, filter context, measures, functions, and things that are more directly related to DAX. I hope this has been helpful. See you in the next one.